all the ideas from John C. Maxwell's book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Follow them and people will follow you. This is a practical guide to developing leadership qualities based on 21 universal principles, such as the law of influence or the law of navigation, that help lead people to success. It explains how leadership isn't a position, but the ability to inspire and achieve results through personal growth, teamwork, and strategic thinking. It's worth reading to master tools for career, business, or personal life, transforming potential into real influence and avoiding common leadership mistakes. John Maxwell, a pastor and coach, wrote the book in 1998 based on 30 years of leadership experience, including working with thousands of organizations, and it became a bestseller, selling over 2 million copies. Interesting fact, Maxwell founded a global leadership development network, and the book inspired figures like the President of Ecuador, who applied its laws for reforms. It was reissued in 2007 with updates and remains a classic, though criticized for its American focus. Rule 1, the law of the lid. Leadership determines the limit of an individual's and a team's capabilities. Everyone has their own limit of effectiveness, and this limit directly depends on their level of leadership. Even if a person is talented, energetic, and intelligent, their success will be limited if they don't know how to lead others. To improve results in any area of business, sports, creative pursuits, you need to not just develop professional skills, but raise your level of leadership. This means learning to influence, inspire, unite people around a goal, and take responsibility for the collective movement. An example from the book is the McDonald brothers, who invented an efficient fast food system. They were excellent entrepreneurs, but their limit was at the small business level. Ray Kroc, with a higher level of leadership, took their idea and turned it into a global chain. Until you grow as a leader, your ceiling will remain low. Develop leadership, and everything you touch will grow with you. Rule 2, the law of influence. True leadership cannot be imposed, it's built on influence. A position, title, or authority doesn't make someone a leader. People follow those who can influence, not command. Influence is built through respect, competence, and care. To influence, you need to see others' interests and act with the intention to help, not to prove your own importance. Leadership is about trust, not control. An example from the book is Princess Diana. She had no political power, but she had colossal influence. Millions of people followed her because of her sincerity, compassion, and humanity. To become a leader, develop not a commanding tone, but the ability to inspire. People sense when you are driven by a desire for power and when you are driven by a desire for good. Rule 3, the law of process. Leaders are not born, they are made, step by step. Leadership is not a single action, but a long process of developing character, discipline, and mindset. Every day you either grow or decline as a leader. This path cannot be rushed. To acquire leadership, intuition, and confidence takes time, mistakes, and self-awareness. Just as you cannot become an athlete in one day, you cannot become a leader without undergoing inner training. Maxwell offers an image. Success is not an event, but a consequence of habits accumulated over years. Leaders learn every day. They observe, listen, draw conclusions, make decisions, and take responsibility for them. If you want to become a strong leader, stop expecting quick results. Learn every day to manage yourself, people, and circumstances. Rule 4, the law of navigation. A leader doesn't just lead people, they know the way and can plan it. A true leader isn't a captain holding the wheel, but a navigator who plans the route in advance, assesses risks, and knows how to guide the team even through a storm. To lead others, you need to see further. This requires strategic thinking, realism, and a willingness to take responsibility for the course. The book gives the example of Captain Ernest Shackleton, whose expedition to Antarctica faced disaster. The ship sank in the ice. Thanks to Shackleton's clear strategy and leadership, all participants survived. He knew where to go and how to keep the team morally strong despite despair. A good leader doesn't promise an easy path, but can show that the goal is achievable. Before leading others, first learn to chart the course yourself. Rule 5, the law of addition. Leaders don't take, they add. Every true leader adds value to other people. They make life, work, and people themselves better. To add value, you need to understand what others need and help them realize their potential. This isn't about control. It's about service. Great leaders think in terms of benefit, not gain. An example is Mother Teresa. She had no money, power, or army, but her leadership grew from a desire to serve. Millions of people followed her because she gave them meaning and hope. If you want to be a strong leader, help others become stronger. Don't demand, develop. True influence is born from generosity. Rule 6, the law of solid ground. Trust is the foundation of leadership. Without trust, no authority can be maintained. People follow, not those who speak, but those they trust. Trust is built on 3 elements: character, competence, and consistency. Character is honesty and sincerity. Competence is the ability to handle a task. Consistency is the ability to be predictable in your principles. When a leader loses trust, they lose influence. People can forgive a mistake, but not a lie. Winston Churchill serves as an example. Even when his decisions were controversial, people trusted him because they knew he would never deceive or give up. Guard trust more than reputation. Reputation can be an appearance, but trust is reality. Rule 7, the law of respect. People follow those they respect. Respect cannot be demanded. It can only be earned through actions. Respect emerges when a person demonstrates strength, courage, competence, and care. People are drawn to those who can protect, support, and inspire. When a team chooses who to listen to during a crisis, they always instinctively turn to the one they respect. Respect is an intuitive recognition of inner strength. To earn respect, show firmness in difficult times. Keep your word, help without belittling, and don't make excuses. Respect is capital that yields dividends of influence. Rule 8, the law of intuition. Leaders sense situations before others. They have a developed special intuition, not mysticism, but a combination of experience, observation, and sensitivity to people. Intuition helps to instantly read the atmosphere in a team, understand where a weak point is, and anticipate how events will unfold. This quality is formed through years of practice and attentiveness. An example is Joseph Stalin during World War II. He lacked military training, but possessed powerful political intuition. He sensed the mood of the people and understood when to give the country a symbol of strength and when to retreat. To develop leadership intuition, observe people, analyze their decisions, and learn to see interconnections. The more experience and attention, the more accurate the intuition. Rule 9, the law of magnetism. You attract not who you want, but who you are. Your team is a reflection of its leader. People with similar values, energy, and character are drawn to each other. If a leader is negative, complainers gather around them. If they are inspired, energetic, and motivated individuals are nearby. Therefore, leadership development begins with an internal state. Maxwell gives an example. Companies where leaders value innovation attract creative people, and where leaders are bureaucratic, they attract those who fear taking risks. If you want to have strong people around you, become stronger yourself. Don't look for ideal people. Become the kind of person who attracts them. Rule 10, the law of connection. Leaders first touch the heart, then appeal to the mind. People don't follow logic. They follow those with whom they feel a connection. To establish a connection, you need to show interest, respect, and sincerity. People sense when they are genuinely listened to and when others are just waiting for their turn to speak. An example is President Theodore Roosevelt. Before meeting anyone, he would research everything about the person, their family, work, interests. Because of this, he immediately found common ground and built trust. Don't try to persuade, connect first. When the heart is open, the mind follows. Rule 11, the law of the inner circle. A leader's strength directly depends on the strength of their immediate circle. No one achieves big goals alone. Around every strong leader, there are always people who share their vision, complement their strengths, and amplify their influence. To build a strong inner circle, you need to seek not just loyal, but competent and mature individuals. They should be independent, take responsibility, and share common values. A true leader surrounds themselves with those who can not only support, but also challenge their decisions, so that momentum remains vibrant and honest. An example from the book is Jesus Christ. Despite a huge following, he focused on a close circle of 12 disciples. He invested in them, imparted his vision and values, and it was through them that he spread his influence throughout the world. Choose your team consciously. Evaluate not only skills, but also character, willingness to grow, loyalty, and mutual trust. The strength of your inner circle determines the reach of your journey. Rule 12, the law of empowerment. True leaders empower others. Weak leaders fear sharing authority because they fear losing control. Strong leaders, conversely, delegate, train, and transfer responsibility because they understand power shared is not lost, but multiplied. When you empower others, you create leaders capable of acting independently. This relieves your own overload and makes the system vibrant. Delegation isn't a relinquishing of control, but the creation of space where others can grow. Maxwell cites Theodore Roosevelt as an example, who gave his people real freedom to make decisions. He selected strong leaders, trusted them, and thanks to this, built a powerful and resilient team. Don't hold on to power out of fear. Share it consciously. This is the source of a leader's true strength. Rule 13, the law of reproduction. Leaders reproduce leaders. Followers can be inspired, but leaders must be developed. For this to happen, you need to transmit not only knowledge, but also mindset, principles, and character. When developing others, it's important to set an example how you behave in difficult situations, how you make decisions, how you treat people. Leadership is passed on not through lectures, but through observation and collaborative work. John Wooden, the famous basketball coach, serves as an example. He didn't just teach his players techniques, he shaped them into leaders, who then became coaches themselves. His system trained dozens of outstanding athletes and mentors. If you want your work to live on after you raise those who can lead further, leadership without disciples is just a temporary flash. Rule 14, the law of buy-in. People first buy into the leader, then into the vision. Even a brilliant plan means nothing if those who are supposed to implement it don't trust the person proposing it. For people to embrace your idea, they must believe that you know what you're doing and that your motives are pure. First, earn trust and only then share your vision. An example is General Douglas MacArthur. His soldiers followed him not because of orders, but because they believed he would never send them where he himself wasn't prepared to be. They accepted his decisions because they trusted him as a person. Don't start with ideas, start with relationships. When they trust you, they will accept your path. Rule 15, the law of victory. Leaders find a way to win. For them, defeat is not an option. If a situation seems hopeless, they don't look for blame, but for a way out. Victory for them is not a matter of luck, but a matter of will and strategy. A true leader accepts responsibility for the result, not shifting it onto circumstances. They are ready to rework the plan, take risks, change their approach, but not to give up. An example is Winston Churchill during World War II. When Britain stood alone against Nazi Germany, he did not succumb to despair. His determination and confidence became fuel for the entire nation. Don't look for excuses. Act until you find a solution. A leader wins not because everything goes according to plan, but because they don't stop. Rule 16, the law of the Big Mo. Momentum is the force of motion that makes success inevitable. When things pick up speed, everything becomes easier. People believe, processes accelerate, results grow. But without initial momentum, any endeavor gets bogged down. To create momentum, you need to start with wins, even small ones. Every small victory builds confidence and attracts new supporters. Momentum isn't just speed, it's a belief in progress. An example is a sports team that, after several wins, starts playing at a different level. Even if players doubted before, now they believe they can win. The same principle applies in business and leadership. Create momentum in small steps. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start acting, and the movement itself will begin to amplify. Rule 17, the law of priorities. Activity does not equal accomplishment. A true leader knows how to set priorities and focus on what truly moves things forward. It's important to distinguish between urgent and important. Many are busy, but few are effective. True leadership requires the ability to say no to the secondary, to say yes to the primary. An example is Jack Welch, former head of General Electric. He closed dozens of divisions that weren't leaders in their niches to focus resources on core areas. The result was a global giant company. Focus, do less, but better. Time and energy are a leader's main capital, and they must be spent precisely. Rule 18, the law of sacrifice. To go higher, you have to give up something. Leadership always demands a price: time, comfort, personal interests. The higher the level, the greater the price. It's impossible to lead people if you put yourself first. Sometimes you have to sacrifice even success for principles, because moral leadership is more valuable than career advancement. An example is Martin Luther King Jr. He sacrificed safety, family, and peace for the civil rights movement. His strength was not in power, but in his willingness to pay the price. Leadership is not a reward, but service. If you're not ready to sacrifice, you're not ready to lead. Rule 19, the law of timing. Even the right decision at the wrong time becomes a mistake. A true leader senses the moment to act. Timing is part of strategy. Sometimes it's important to wait, sometimes to act instantly. A timing error can destroy even a brilliant idea. An example is Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't start the civil rights movement too early when society wasn't ready. He waited until the nation matured, and that's why the movement became widespread. Evaluate not only what and how to do, but also when. A leader who senses the moment will always be one step ahead. Rule 20, the law of explosive growth. To create a real breakthrough, you need to grow leaders, not just followers. Followers multiply effort, but leaders multiply influence. If you're making all the decisions and controlling everything yourself, your growth will always be limited by your time and energy. But if you create other leaders, your potential becomes limitless. An example is the Salvation Army. Its founder, William Booth, didn't just manage people. He created leaders who could act independently. Thanks to this, the movement continues to grow decades after his death. Create a system where people don't wait for instructions but are capable of leading themselves. This is the only way to achieve sustainable growth. Rule 21, the law of legacy. A true leader doesn't think about themselves, but about what will remain after them. The purpose of leadership is to build something that will live longer than you. Legacy isn't buildings or titles, but the people you've raised and the values you've passed on. Leadership is measured not by applause in your lifetime, but by how many leaders remain after you. An example is Mother Teresa. She's been gone for a long time, but her mission continues because she passed on to her followers not instructions, but a spirit of service. Create a legacy every day. Think about what of your influence will live on when you're gone. This is the true measure of leadership. This is such a wonderful book. I've compiled a separate list of all the important theses from this book, along with all the techniques and tools, and created a step-by-step action plan that you can immediately implement in your life. You can get all this in my community, Place of Power. There, you will find a detailed text analysis with similar lists for each book being reviewed. The community has already thoroughly analyzed and made available to you hundreds of world bestsellers with a new analysis released every day. Follow the link in the description and use it.